Hello there, it's Jan here from JB Crafts. Thank you for joining me today. I have project number 5 today in my little mini Valentine series for this year, for 2025. And we've got a nice little gift bag today to show you how to make, which would be, it's a really nice size for a small box of chocolates, maybe a piece of lightweight clothing, maybe some jewellery. Excuse me. And very, very simple to put together. I have just decorated the front and I've added a sort of shaker element onto the front today, but this could quite easily just be a panel. If you don't want to go down the road of the shaker route, you could just do the frame straight onto the background mat there. And then just for a little bit of a change, I thought, you know what, we'll add some black in today, and I can't make my mind up whether I like it or not. So this one's actually using black glitter card, and I've used it for the handles and for the frame and for the leaves of the flowers. And then I also, for the hearts and the flowers, I've actually put some felt. I've used some felt to cut out my embellishments this time, just to add a little bit of texture to it. So I'm going to do a slightly different version in the tutorial. It will be exactly the same measurements and the same layout, but I'm actually going to replace the black with white today and see which one you guys like best. So not everybody will be into the black. I think it looks quite nice. It's got quite a sort of rich sort of value to it, I think, for Valentine's, but I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, so I thought we'll do the tutorial today in exactly the same way, but I've omitted the felt because not everyone has felt. I appreciate that, so I'm going to do these in cardstock today. And where it's black, so all the elements that are black, we're going to use, so for the matte layer, for the frame, for the handles, we're going to use white, and then I've replaced the leaves with a different colour. So a really nice little style. There's nothing in mine at the minute. I've just popped some tissue paper in it to fill it out. And I've used a die set to create the little handles, really cute. And the measurements are, let me just think, it's 8 inches across and 5.5 inches tall. So quite a nice size, and then it's 2.5 inches deep. All right, and I'm going to show you how to put that together. I've used a couple of pieces of A4 cardstock to get my base pieces, and then the rest of it is elements from my stash. So we'll pop this one to one side for a second, and I'll show you the base pieces of cardstock first as we get into the tutorial. So I've done some of the scoring on this, but I will go over it again with you. So you're going to need 2 pieces of cardstock that measure 11 by 8 inches. Okay, so 11 across. I've chopped a little sliver off this end of my A4, and then I've chopped 1/4 inch off the width of it to make it 11 by 8. And then I'm going to bring in my large scoreboard today because this is a wider piece. So this is my big score. And I'll pop this up at the top here so that we can see, because I've got the score markings on here ready. And we're actually going to score both pieces exactly the same. So on the long side, on that 11-inch side, okay, I want to turn it that way around, we're going to score at 8 inches, so all the way across to 8 inches, and pop a score line in. And then we're going to score again at 10.5 inches. Okay, and then I'm going to rotate it, and I've got my little skinny 1/2 inch tab here at the top, and then I'm going to come to 2.5 inches, which was the depth of the box, and score down that long length of the cardstock. And we're going to do exactly the same on both pieces of card. So I've got 2 of those that are exactly the same. So we're just wrecking the joint in the process there. So I'm going to pop that one back. We do need to do one more score line, but I can use my smaller scoreboard for that one. So once we've got these in place now, you're going to have a large rectangle in this quadrant here, which is going to be the front or the back of the bag. These 2 are going to be part of the base here, so you can see that's that bit. This is going to fold in for the base. This is going to be the side, and then we're going to create a little glue tab with that 1/2 inch skinny piece down the side. So just before I do that, I'm going to put a couple of extra score lines in. And these are just to create that guideline for where it sort of folds in at the sides here. So 1 at each side, just so that you can pinch it and you get that nice bag shape. So all I'm going to do is measure down roughly with my ruler about 4 inches down from the top in that rectangle next to the skinny tab. So I've got my large piece here, and then in that rectangle on both of them, I'm just going to mark with a pencil about 4 inches down. Okay, now this piece here measures 2.5 inches. Okay, so we need to go half of that. So that's going to be 1.25 inches. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my smaller scoreboard for this one. And I just want to do a partial score line. So I'm going to pop it back in my scoreboard. And I'm going to go to, it wants to be slightly further over than 1.25, because don't forget we've got this 1/2 inch tab at this side. So it will actually be 1.75. And I am just going to score down to where I put that 4 inch mark. And I've used my ruler here so that I've got a stopper. So I'm going to come down that line here and stop when I get to the ruler. And then I've done exactly the same on this piece. So again, line it up. I've put my ruler across where I put that little mark at 4 inches, and then I'm going to 1.75 inches, which is the half of this at 1.25 plus the 1/2 inch tab, and we're going to score down to that ruler, and that's all I need to do for that bit. So then we've finished with the scoring. We need to do some folding and burnishing, and then a little bit of cutting. So if you take each piece and burnish your well, fold them first. Okay, and then burnish those lines into place, just making sure again that everything folds up nice and straight. And then again, I'm going to use the bulk of my card to fold that little skinny one in and burnish that one. And then I'm going to do the same with that next score line and burnish that one into place. Okay, not too worried about this one in the middle at this moment in time. That will come into play when we've put the bag together. And then we need to do exactly the same with this one. So again, I'm going to bring that bottom piece up that's going to create the base of the bag. I'm going to fold the little skinny one in, which we're going to make the glue tabs with, and burnish. And then I'm going to fold in to create that side panel on the edge there. Okay, so you should have 2 pieces now that look exactly the same. I will just take my eraser and rub out that little tiny, it was only a little tiny pencil mark, but I will know it's there, so we'll get rid of that off the cardstock. And then we need to do a little bit of cutting. So I'm going to take my scissors, start with one of the panels, and I've got that big rectangle here on the top right hand side. So these two are going to be the bottom of the bag. So I'm going to cut up the right hand side of that score line to make a nice neat edge on that bottom piece. This is what's going to fold in to our bag, and I do want to take away any of that score line that's showing. So I didn't cut particularly straight there. Let me just redo that. There we go. Take that bit out. And then I'm also going to do the same with that next score line, and we're going to cut away completely that little skinny rectangle. Okay, so let me just move that one out of the way for a second. So I've freed this one up and I've taken that rectangle away from the corner. So in order to make my glue tab, I nearly always just angle off the edges, and that way there's no overlap when we come to stick that together. And then I'm also going to trim about 1/4 inch in and just take a wedge off that small panel at the bottom there. So if I show you what that looks like now, we've got our front or back, our side, our glue tab, and then these will fold in. This will be half of our box. So it's deconstructed. We're going to do exactly the same to the other panel. So I'll just go through that again with you. So the first cut is up the right hand side of that score line, nice and straight, to create the base of the box. Then I'm going to come up the right hand side of that little skinny rectangle and cut it away. I'm going to create my angles for the glue tab there, and then I am just going to cut away from about 1/4 inch up to the top there to create those tabs, and that way you don't have any bits of the sides poking out when you stick the base together. It looks nice and neat when it's all finished. Okay, so I'll lay that down again and give you that visual, and they should be identical. So again, front or back, side, glue tab and the base. Okay, so these are then eventually going to sit together like this, and we'll have our bag. Simple as that, really is. So what we're going to do now then is we're going to pop some glue on the glue tabs and actually line one of these panels up, and I'm going to use my fine tip applicator for this. You can use whichever glue you prefer, whether that be your all-purpose, whether it be tape runner. I just like that wet glue because you get that little bit of movement time to get everything in place. So I've covered it with my acrylic glue there, and all I'm going to do now is line up right up to the edge of that score line and just make sure that everything's running nice and straight, and give that a press. And then when we fold that in half, you should have a nice flush edge on that side there. And then we're going to do the same on this one. So I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to put glue on that second glue tab. And just bring this down here. And I will just say at this point that this is not actually my design. I wanted to pop this on the channel, but I saw a tutorial for this on Sam Calcott's YouTube channel, who's Mixed Up Craft. If you haven't come across her, go take a look. She's got some fabulous tutorials on there. And then I've just done my own version of it. Hers wasn't a Valentine's Day one, but it was the same measurements as this. So it just gives you that sort of base to work on there. So once those are in place, you can see we've got the beginnings of that box now, and then we've got all the flaps here at the bottom to pop in. Now, before I do that and secure it into a 3D object, I prefer to keep it flat and actually start thinking about what we're going to decorate with. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to bring in is that background mat layer. So this one had the black mat on it and then my paper. So if I just pop that to one side again for a second, I think I've shown you this one earlier in the Valentine series. It's one that I picked up a while ago. It's not a new paper pad. It was on offer, and I think this one was from The Works, if I remember rightly. I'm not sure. But again, really nice sets of, you know, peachy pinky tones for Valentine's Day. And I've just taken some of the paper out of there. I've gone with this one, and I've cut my panel down to fit the front of the card there. So my background panel is 7 3/4 by 5 1/4. So that is 1/4 of an inch shorter on the height and 1/4 of an inch shorter on the width to give us that nice little border all the way around. And then my pattern paper, I've come down 1/4 of an inch again, and I've got a 7 1/2 by 5 inch panel on the pattern paper. So whatever pattern, and again, this doesn't have to be a Valentine theme. You know, a lot of the projects that I do and other YouTube creators, you know, just by changing the colours and the paper, you could do this for any occasion. You know, this could be all done in blues or pinks for a new baby to pop a little gift in. It could be done for Mother's Day, Father's Day, whatever you fancy, or just, you know, for a birthday. But that's going to sit in there nicely. And yes, I have actually taken the middle out of here, and I've used that to create my frame. And I'll bring that in just to show you. You can see where this has been cut straight out of the middle here. And I'll show you how I've come about that one in a second. I am just going to get this one stuck down, and I'm going to go back to my all-purpose glue for this, just to get it stuck. So have a look at your base and decide whether you're going to use, you know, which is going to be front and back. They both should be the same. And then I'm just going to add some of that all-purpose glue, and we'll get that one stuck in place. Okay, so that one's going to sit on here. And like I said, for the tutorial, I've changed the black area to the white, and we'll have a look which we like best. Just going to pop my lid on that glue before it starts drying out there, and then we'll have problems later. But yeah, just hold that in place, And then I'm going to put the old block on that so that it dries nice and straight. We'll pop that to one side. So for my frame, I have taken a couple of my rectangular nesting dies. And this measures 6 inches by 4 inches. And I literally pop them together, pass them through my die cutting machine, and I cut 2 layers of white cardstock. And this is actually watercolour card because it just has that very slight bit of texture on it, which I quite like. So I've cut 2 lots and stuck them together with my all-purpose glue so that it gets nice and strong. And then I popped a piece of acetate on the other side, which I've managed to get very dirty. I'll give that a clean afterwards. Picked up some bits off the desk, I think. But just to clean it with a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and that'll come up nice afterwards. Okay, so I popped that on the back, and I used my double-sided tape to stick the acetate down to the cardstock to the back of the frame. And then I've added a little bit of thin foam. Now this is only 1 mil deep, but I didn't need a massive amount of space because it's such a big area. I didn't need it to be too deep for my shaker element. So this is going to go over the top to enclose the shaker pieces. And then on the front of there, I've actually used my Happy Valentine's Day die. And again, I've had this one a while. I'm not sure whether this is a Crafter's Companion one or whether it's one that came out of my stash, but it cuts out a beautiful matte layer and the greeting. Okay, so these I've got little hearts that have popped out of the gap here. I've popped 2 on the solid hearts just to give them a bit of dimension. And then I cut my matte layer out of vellum. And I've stuck that onto the vellum with my acrylic glue, which I often call my embellishment glue. It's nice quick grab glue. And that one's good to go on top of our window here, like so. Okay, so I think we'll do the shaker first and then we'll stick this bit on. And I don't think the camera will pick it up, but I did actually go over my whole die cut with my clear sparkle pen here just to give it a little bit of shimmer. I don't know whether the camera's picking it up or not. There's a little tiny bit of shimmer going on, just again to add a bit more detail, optional. Or if you've got glitter cardstock, you might want to cut it out of the glitter. But we'll pop that to one side, and I'm going to create the shaker element for the card. So pop that on there. This is going to go on the front here, like so. So we're actually going to put some shaker pieces underneath here. So I'm going to take away the liner, and this is my sticks to, as I say, just a 1 mil deep tape. So we'll just take that liner away ready, so that one's good to go. And just remember, if you're making a shaker space, to make sure that where you put the tape, it matches, it sort of brushes right up against the other piece, because you don't want those little sequins escaping, or whatever you're putting in as your shaker, escaping through the gap. So I'm going to put that one to one side. We've got that ready to go. And then I've got a couple of different shaker pieces. So I've got some little discs here, which are from the Works again, just £1 a bottle. And I love the little bottles for keeping things in afterwards. And then I've got some of my red sequin shaker mix. I have these in all different colours. So what we're going to do is just pop some onto the cardstock. I'm going to pop that on there to hold it flat so that these don't bounce around. And then I've got my little spoon here. And we're going to put a few of the discs, and these are like an iridescent, they've got like an iridescent finish to them, so they are quite nice. And then I'm going to go with some of the sequins as well. So again, these are just a mixture of red sequins in there, and I'm just going to pop some of those in as well. You don't need a massive amount, even though it's a large space. It's just a suggestion that there is something in there to shake. So I'm going to pop all those to the middle, get my frame, and then we're going to center that frame over the top, and they're all being very friendly already. So I'm just eyeballing all the way around to make sure that we've got a nice even space, and then stick that down. So I've got one that's just popped out there. Stick it down, give it chance for that adhesive to do its job before we start shaking it around. And then, yeah, we've got our nice shaker element there on the front. Okay, so then we can come back to the sentiment, and I'm going to use my acrylic glue on the back of here again, just because it's got that nice fine tip applicator, and I'm just going to put some glue behind the thicker parts of the die cut here. So it doesn't need masses, but the acrylic glue will dry onto the acetate and we will get a nice bond. So just behind the letters where there's a, you know, a slightly thicker element, I'm going to put dots of the acrylic glue. I can put plenty in those hearts there. Make sure I've got all round the edge, and then fill in any bits in the centre there that we think we need. And then what I'm going to do, which I often do, is just grab my cloth and tap off gently any excess glue so that it's not sort of going to squidge out all over the place. And then I'm going to centre this, so making sure you've got your panels at the bottom. I'm going to centre that over the window there. That's going to be my greeting. And then I'm going to bring the block in again and just give that a good press. Get those pieces down to the bottom, and then I've actually got a do it with that one because that's a little bit smaller. Just give it a good press, and I'm just going to stand the glue on there for a minute while that dries, and then we'll stick the base of it together with that all-purpose glue. So for the handles on here, I actually chose a set of my nesting dies. So these are a Crafter's Companion set, and they are called Stitched Fancy Rectangles. And again, I've taken the two that I wanted, and I've actually missed one here. So it's not a little skinny one. It's a little bit more substance. It's about sort of 1/2 inch in depth between the two edges of the die. And I cut this out, obviously for the original one I cut it out in black. This one I've cut it out in the white card, and again there are 2 layers stuck together. I've cut it out twice and stuck them together, and then what I did was measure the halfway point of here, which is around about 1 inch, and I've cut it straight down the middle, and you can see here where I've got the 2 halves of it there. So these are going to be the 2 handles for the bag, and I just thought it was a really nice shape to pop the handles. Now if you don't want to do this, you could pop ribbon. You could punch a hole in and pop some ribbon through. You may have some other ideas, some twine, whatever it is you want to do, but I just thought this gave a really nice unusual look to it. And this was slightly different to what the original tutorial was that Sam did, and I'm going to pop those onto the top once we actually put the bag together so that I can see the positioning. And then I've also got some embellishments in here. So I die cut the 3 flowers again in cardstock this time. I've also got, I went for pink for the leaves rather than the black because I tried the white and it didn't look right. And then I've got the hearts for the top there, and I've also got a slightly different sentiment to go on if we can fit that in. And then I've got some little pieces that I'll go through in a second to secure the handle in place. So we'll just pop all those to one side for now, and I'm going to concentrate on getting that bag fixed together first of all. So pop all those up to the top. That should have done its job by now. It should have grabbed sufficiently. So I'm going to turn it on the top edge now, bearing in mind that this is my front, so this is going to be the last one that we close. I'm going to put the long one in first, and then put glue on the inside of these 2 side tabs. And by doing it this way, it traps these inside, so when you look inside the bag, you've not got those bits showing. It just conceals them between the 2 layers. So again, that lovely all-purpose glue that's going to dry nice and solid, and pop those 2 in place. And then I'm going to coat the whole of this side. And any of you that use this glue will know that it dries so rock solid, it's almost like having a piece of sort of thicker cardboard in between your design. So when you fold this one now, you should get a nice finish. That's why we took the wedges off these tabs inside. Got a nice square finish there. Pop it over, and then I'm just going to use something a little bit longer to pop in there and just spread that glue out underneath so that it's all made contact with the base of the box there. All right, so it doesn't take long to go off, the all-purpose glue, to start curing, so you know you will get a really nice bond with that. And then where we made those other score lines, you can see now how those are going to come into play. And I'm just giving them a gentle squeeze where that score line was that we did down to the 4 inch. It's just a guideline to be able to bring your box closed or your gift bag closed. Now, you may not want to do the handles. You might at this point want to put a little clip on it or something like that. It's entirely up to you how you finish it. That's the basis of the bag. The rest of it's going to be the decoration. So as far as the handles are concerned, I'm going to pop these here like so, and I've put a little bit of my very narrow red line tape to stick these on the front, but I didn't think that was enough to warrant it being a handle, so I'm going to support it at the back with these little pieces that I've made here, and I'm going to stick these on the reverse like so to give it a little bit of sort of bolster. So these they're just scraps that were left over. They're about 1.5 inches long, and they're the width of this piece here. All right, so I measured the end of my, which is about 1/2 inch, and I've made these, and I'm going to sit these on the back here, and then that's actually going to sort of support the handle on the design. So I also want to find out where the centre of this is, so I might need my longer ruler for that one. So along the front of here, it's 8 inches. I'm just going to very, very lightly mark that 4 inch. And then I measured my handle. So this may differ depending on what you're using. This was 4.5 inches. So the halfway mark there is going to be 2.25. So what I'm going to do is line up that central point with 2.25 inches there. And then I'm going to mark this end and at the 4.5. And I'm going to do that on both sides. So just to run you through that again, halfway of the bag itself is 4 inches. My handle, so depending on what you choose for your handles, it may be that you just want to punch holes in here, but it's a good way to get them centered. So mine was 4.5 inches. Half of my 4.5 is 2.25. So I've put that in the center, and then I've gone either side at 0 and 4.5, and that's going to be a guide as to where I want to stick my handles now. So we're going to take the tape off. So I've got a little tiny bit of that narrow red line tape because I know that that is really good. It's really sticky. I didn't want any wet glue sort of squidging out at this point. And then what I'm going to do on the front here is I'm going to line the outside edge up with that first line, and I'm just going to sit it on top of that matte layer, and then this one should line up at the other side, and we've got that little tiny bit. Now I didn't think that was enough, you know, it's secure, but when you've put a gift in here, I didn't want the handle falling off. So these I've actually done and put some of the wider red line tape on the back. So we're going to use one at each side. I've created 4 of these. So we'll just get those 2 ready. Ooh, it's getting very friendly there. Just stay there for a minute. That's it. And the same with that one. Get rid of the liner off there. And then I'm going to use those behind it just to sort of anchor those handles. So the first one, I'm going to turn the bag over, and I hope you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to line this up with the top of the handle, and it's the same width as the handle, and just pop that in there, give it a squeeze, and it's now stuck the handle to the inside of the bag, but you've not got anything visible from the front. And then I'm going to do the same again. So again, I'm going to pop this one on this side, So again, just line it up with the top of the handle, like so. Make sure that it's concealed behind that handle, and then pop that. So we've got a better grip now on the bag. It's much more, I can feel just by holding that it's much more stable. And then I'm very quickly going to do the same on the other side. So we need to take our liner off the handle. We'll take our liner off our little supports here. And then we'll do exactly the same. So I'll show you that again, just in case you're not quite sure where we're heading with it. So I've got my measurements at the ready. So I'm going to line up, and I'm just going to go roughly the same. I've got about 1/8 of an inch of the red showing. So I am just going to pop these on about the same position, like so. And then I've lined this one up with a little pencil line at that side. So there's about 1/8 of an inch fastened. It's about the width of the tape. And then we're going to do the same again with these little supports. So just on the back there, line it up, give it a squeeze. And then with this one on the other side, we're going to line it up with the handle and give it a squeeze. Okay, so we've now got our handles in place that match onto the bag. We've got it sort of folded if you want it to. You know, you could tie ribbon around here if you want the bag to stay closed. So lots of different ways of dealing with that handle and that top if you wish. And then it's just a case simply of decorating. So all I've done with mine is I've got the large red heart I'm going to pop in this top corner here. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the top corner of the frame, and I'm going to sit this one at a slight angle like so, and then this one's going to overlap it. So I've put a little bit of foam under that right hand side because it's going to need to lift away from the acetate, the sort of the depth of the frame. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of glue so that it will adhere to the other heart on this side. So this one's going to go in here like so. So the foam tape stuck to the acetate and the glue stuck it to that other heart. Now I didn't put this one on the other bag, but I thought it would look nice. It's one of the, it's just, I went through some of my sentiments and I've got Happy Valentine's Day, you mean the world to me. So I think we'll pop this one on and we'll just build around it for the rest of the bag. So again, I'm going to put, I've got foam tape behind most of it, and then a little bit of glue where it's going to hit the frame here. So all I'm going to do is pop this sort of going across the frame like so, and get that one in there. And then I've got 2 pink flowers and a white one, and I've just popped some gems in the centre of those. And we're going to go with, I'm going to alter the order of these slightly to accommodate that sentiment. I went up in order with the large, the medium and the small on the other bag. But for this one, I think we're going to come the other way round so that I've got a space to show that sentiment. So this one's going to come round here. And then the little one can go on this left-hand side. You know, so whatever embellishments you wish, you know, there's no rule about this, whatever's right or wrong. And then I've got my leaves. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back here, and we'll tuck one of them under there. And then we're going to have the other one at this other corner here. So I'm just going to turn everything round because I'm right-handed. I prefer to come in this way, like so. Pop that glue lid on. And then if I bring you this back the right way, we've got that lovely detail on the front there. So I quite like it with the extra sentiment on. I planned to do it on the original one and got so carried away with my little felt flowers that when I added it, it didn't look right because the cluster was too close together. So, you know, it sort of depends how you want to do it. So let me know which you think, which you prefer. And again, you know, if I bring this one back in, the only thing that I added was some little red pearls, just, you know me, and then the hearts that were left over from the die cut, I actually popped these onto the bag as well. I don't know whether it was necessary, but they were sat there at the side of me and I thought, you know what, we'll have a go. So, you know, it depends whether you want to pop any additional ones on. I think I've only got one spare one here. So we'll have a look where that one wants to go. We may as well use it. And I think I am just going to go like this one. I've got one here, 2, 3, working in threes. But then I decided to use some of them on that solid heart to give it a little bit more depth. So I don't know, round there, or I think because that one's more red, I'm going to put that one just in the edge of that little cluster to balance what's going off at that side. I think that looks quite nice there. And that is my gift bag complete. So that's what we've got today. So again, you know, I like it in the white as well. It looks cleaner in the white, and I think that is just going to be preference. You know, do you like it with the black trim? Do you prefer it with the white trim? Do you like the idea of the felt, or do you think it's too heavy? Do you prefer it with the cardstock? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd be interested to see which you prefer. I thought I liked the black when I'd made the black one, but I do like it in the white as well. So yeah, little dilemma there as to which one I want to use, but that's my gift bag today for the Valentine series. So if you've enjoyed that tutorial, give it a thumbs up. Like I said, it was taken from a tutorial on Sam's Mixed Up Craft YouTube channel, so it wasn't actually my design. I've just put my own take on it, and I've added the handles. I'm not sure how, I think Sam had made some long handles for hers, but I just wanted to add my own sort of little twist to it. And again, it wasn't a Valentine theme, so so yeah, if you want to go have a look at that original video, then you can find her at Mixed Up Craft. But if you've enjoyed this one today, consider giving it a thumbs up for me. I would love your subscription if you haven't done so already, and I will be back very, very shortly with another tutorial for you guys. But for now, I'm just going to say enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye now.